whiskey bar. You might notice that sometimes we're in different spots, and I guess this has kind of been the most frequent.
We've been
location.
here the most frequently.
Yeah. But things are changing. We're trying to figure out how to get things dialed in. I think here in the next couple of months we'll have a new location.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
State of the art.
State of the art. Well, I don't know about that, but it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Let's just say my wife's had a hand in the design of the new space, so it'll be cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, while I'm thinking about it, like, share, subscribe, all those fun things. And
subscribe to that YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
That is a big one for it.
I mean, a big milestone for us would be to get to 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting, as we're recording this, I think it was 11 the last time I checked.
Yeah.
So it really helps us out a lot if you actually go in and subscribe. Share it with your whiskey friends. You definitely have some, I'm sure.
You definitely have some.
But we're on Instagram,
Facebook,
YouTube, and all those details and links will be included in the description and the show notes on the YouTube channel. So anyway, I don't know. Anything else I'm missing?
No. Well, you've been on a world tour. You've been traveling like a gypsy. So.
Yeah, I think over the past few weeks, I think I figured out I've been to 10% of the United States by states. So yeah,
I've been to 10% of the county.
Yeah,
that's where I've been. Yeah.
Yeah, you just hover around southern Johnson County.
Yeah.
Well, you're out of your neighborhood here in Morgan County.
I know.
So, all right. So we've got a couple things lined up today. I don't think you've had either one of these.
I haven't had either one of them. I'm very interested in these. I've got a local boy here with the 450 North Spirits. I'm interested in that.
I mean, the most I've had is what's missing from these bottles.
Yeah, you had that for breakfast. So that's pretty good.
Well, I know it's almost dinner time. It's time to have some more. So, but let's dive into this 450 North Spirits. This is it's aged in darkness, whatever that means. High rye, aged 6 years, 96 proof. Do you know anything about 450 North?
I love their pizza.
Their pizza is phenomenal.
They're big in the craft beers world.
Yeah.
And I was really happy when they started doing their spirits. I wasn't surprised.
You're not a beer guy, though, are you?
I'm not a real big beer guy. No, I'm not. I like cider, so they do have ciders down there.
I haven't been there in a minute, but that facility has changed a lot in the past few years. I mean, it used to be. So I think there's an affiliation between Simmons Winery. Yeah. That's probably where the cider's coming from, I'm guessing. And then 450 North beer. When I was into the craft beer phase, they make some phenomenal. I'm guessing they still.
When they do a release, you have to go hours early because the road will be shut down. Yeah. People everywhere. I mean, it's pretty impressive setup.
But they built that whole new barn building, and it's outside Columbus. It's a little out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. I guess they just had their beer maze a couple weeks ago, which we went to a few years ago. It was a good time. But when I saw this on the shelf, I got this at Total Wine in Greenwood. I was like, no way. Because I could always imagine that it would be really good. So I guess now let's dive in and find out. Again, 6-year rye. So they've been, and I couldn't find a lot of information. I don't know if it says if they make their own or not. Finished and bottled by. So that's implying they may be getting this juice from somewhere else. But either way, I mean, you got to start somewhere.
You do.
So.
Yeah. There's an interesting nose for a rye.
Yeah. It doesn't
I don't smell like a rye.
I mean, it smells a lot like a bourbon.
It smells a ton like a bourbon. There's a sweetness there that you typically do not get with a rye.
No. I mean, I get a whiff of ethanol, which is a 96 proofer. It's not uncommon, but usually for something 700, I don't feel like ethanol is the strongest note.
No,
but there is that sweetness that's there. I almost get like corn, but I don't remember. I don't want to speak about the mash, but I'll look it up and provide some more details. But anything else on the nose that sticks out for you?
It this is odd, kind of like a bakery to me, almost like a yeast bakery.
Oh, like a donut shop or something.
It's not what I was expecting.
No.
On the nose. Not even close. We do a lot of ryes, and this is not your typical nose of a rye.
And I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but I think we're going to find that with both of these today. Okay. So,
we'll get it.
All righty. It's so smooth. I mean, the rye comes for me mid to late.
Mid to late. And it kind of it travels.
But you said bakery, and maybe that's planted in my head, but it's almost like you get a glazed donut.
You do. I mean, it's very sweet. It's very smooth for a rye, which is unusual, extremely unusual.
But you take the sip and you let it, after it's there for a moment, you're drinking a rye.
You do. It's definitely it's on the palate. It's definitely rye.
What I was going to misspeak about that I might do now, I seem to recall, and I can be making this up, but I'll verify one way or the other. I thought I read that this is like either 100% or like a 95.5 rye.
Yeah,
now, I don't know that. I'm going to try to see if I can dig into that mash bill to verify one way or the other. But
because I usually get a lot of pepper and stuff on a rye, I don't get that strong pepper in this.
I mean, I get a little bit, but it's real late.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's like a yeast donut, and then the rye spice comes in for me mid to late, and then at the tail end I get a little bit of pepper, but like a black pepper, like it's already ground, not like
a faint. Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought this was really good.
This is outstanding. I mean, really for a rye, the smoothness of this for a rye it's rare.
Yeah,
it's really rare, and so. Yeah.
And we talk a lot about folks that maybe don't venture into ryes for one reason or another. Maybe they're just kind of in bourbon land, and that's fine. But to me, if you're in bourbon land and you want to like explore a nice rye, this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, and a lot of people are scared off for whatever reason of ryes. They're scared of the heat, or they are huge Buffalo Trace fans, so they want the sweetness. And this ryes are always going to bring you the sweetness, but this is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
and it's pretty smooth.
Yeah. I think if a popular bourbon for a lot of folks, you hear a lot for people that their favorite is a classic Buffalo Trace. I think if you like Buffalo Trace, you're gonna like this.
You will like this. The proof's a little more, but it's under 100 proof.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's not overbearing. The heat is not going to knock you out, like John said. It's not the heat's not right off the tip of your tongue. It kind of more mid to the back, and it kind of follows you a little bit, but it doesn't hang around. I mean, you're not going to sit here and choke to death on the heat. So if you're not done a rye, try this. For a local product, 6 years old. Yeah, this is really, really good.
It's really good, and I don't know how readily available it is. Like I said, I got it at the Total Wine in Greenwood. If you're here in Central Indiana, I didn't find their website to be very informative, but maybe I didn't find the right page.
You have to really look around. They have a 450 North Spirits page, and it just says coming soon.
I know, so there's not a lot of information out there. So maybe they just came out with this.
Yeah.
But anyway, any other thoughts on this before we move to the Sagamore?
No, let's go. Let's hit that Sagamore.
All right, so I know you and I are both big fans of SLB Basement Bar. I think I said that right. SLB drinks and whatever the Trenton and Kurt. And I've always heard Trenton talk about Sagamore.
Oh yeah,
being his favorite, and I never got it because I'm like I always see it and I'm like it's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. But one day I was in Paragon Liquor Store, which. I think is a really important.
If you haven't been there, you got to go, or don't go, and we'll just keep getting the stuff because it is a great honey hole.
But it's like when I tell people I buy it, people who know what Paragon is or where it is, they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah."
It's a great little store.
Such a great selection of stuff, and sometimes they have stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. I don't know how they do.
They'll have store picks.
I know,
and it's a small little hole in the wall.
It's a
liquor store, but it's great.
It's a drive-through town. You're not going to think to stop there, but the liquor store there. It's a bright purple building with yellow lettering.
You will not miss it.
You won't miss it. Go there. They have a great selection of bourbons and whiskeys and ryes. They have a great selection of beer. And I don't really look beyond those things, but it's a good little spot. So I was in there the other day, and I here's my philosophy on like little mom and pop liquor stores. Mm-hmm. I try to build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So even if I go in there and there's like nothing that jumps off the shelf, I'm gonna get something. I'm gonna support them.
Yeah, I do too.
And I hadn't had any Sagamore, so I thought, well, I guess now's the day. So anyway, this is the Sagamore Spirit Rye Straight Whiskey, 112.2 proof. Cask strength. And while I'm thinking about it, I don't remember what I paid for this, but it wasn't crazy. I want to say it was in the $50 to $60 price point. It might have been less than that. I don't remember what I paid for this one either, but I think it was pretty reasonable in that 50 to 60. Yeah. I could be off on that. Sagamore, I don't know that much about them. I know they're out of Maryland, but beyond that, couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
So
they got a really good name in the industry.
They do, and they do a lot of contract distilling, I think, for folks too. Because I'm a nerd. I read about all these bourbon brands. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times,
I'm not a nerd though. Don't tell people that.
You can be a bourbon nerd,
okay, yeah,
or a rye nerd, or whatever. But a lot of these folks that are coming out with new brands, a lot of times they'll get some spirits from Sagamore. So I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Like the Bourbon Junkie guys, I don't know if you watch those guys. I think they use a lot of the Sagamore, and there's a few others. But anyway, let's dive in. See, this is more classic rye.
This is more classic. You got the rye notes right at the top.
I don't get sweetness on this.
No,
one.
You get some pepper, you get some clove, and you get the rye spices. They jump out at you.
Clove, I think, is clove and the rye spice and the pepper. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I mean, it's
Did we say how old this one was? Does it say? I don't know if there's an age statement. I mean, I think straight rye whiskey implies that it's at least 4 years old, but I don't see an age statement on there other than that. So we'll just leave that unknown.
Yeah, that has a great, for a rye.
It doesn't smell hot, though. I mean, it's 112 proof, but it doesn't smell super hot. All right, I'm going in. That's good.
It's good. The heat on that is up front. It travels, but you know it's a rye. When you drink that, you know it's a rye, and it travels from front to back. And
it almost tastes like it's finished.
I would.
It doesn't say that it is. It's like a cherry for me.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting a hint of cherry in this,
like a Hall's cough drop. Or not a Hall's, maybe more of a Luden's cough drop.
Yeah, because there's not really the medicinal taste to it, but you get cherry in this, and that is unbelievable for a rye to allow something else to come out. Mm-hmm. Is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. So I'm glad I got it because both of these, I'm glad we're doing these today because. Yeah, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite whiskey? I'm like, that's a really hard question.
That's a tough question.
I mean, I don't have an absolute.
Yeah.
I mean, if I gunned ahead, I was like, okay, this. But there are so many, and it kind of depends on the mood, kind of depends on the day. And but when I found these, I'm like, all right, these are really good. In fact, when I cracked them both open a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I better save some because I think Jamie's going to enjoy these.
These are good. These are unbelievable.
Yeah, classic rye on this one, but with that, I wouldn't say sweetness. It's like a cherry.
It's a cherry.
It's a cherry.
It's a cherry. Almost
like a marzipan.
Yeah, and I think it gives you a little bit of a tart cherry taste to it. So the sweetness isn't there. The rye spices come out. The tart cherry comes out. This is really good.
Yeah.
I would definitely get this.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts on the Sagamore Spirit?
Though it is, the rye heat is there from the tip of your tongue on back. At 112 plus, it's not overbearing.
No.
And that's pretty good. I mean, that's one of the best things I think these rye companies can do is have a high proof rye that doesn't just knock you down on the first sip. And this really doesn't. I mean, it's
it's consistent.
Oh, it's very consistent.
Front to back. Something like, a lot of times if it's a higher proof, sometimes that proof just knocks you down.
Yeah.
And this doesn't knock you down. You get the heat. For me, I get the heat on the front, middle, back. It's pretty consistent. It's just kind of smooth.
Yeah.
And then, second and third sip, I don't know. the heat goes away from me.
The heat goes away. It just gets smoother. I mean, it's just it's a great Friday night sipper.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you.
And you and I think we've talked about this on past videos, and certainly as you and I chat, maybe not on video, you're getting our impression on a few sips, right?
Right.
And I think that first impression is sort of important.
Yeah.
Although a video I did when I was on my world travels without Jamie, sorry. But I had a Texas whiskey and Charles Goodnight, and it was funky.
Really? That's interesting.
And I've heard this about Texas whiskey, but I stuck with it.
Yeah.
Because had I formulated an opinion after the first couple of sips, I wouldn't have had any more of that.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it. So sometimes that first impression is really important. Right. I think if you take a few sips, you're like, man, this is bad. Give it a minute. Maybe have another pour. Just kind of enjoy it over the course of the evening, and maybe your first impression was right.
Yeah.
But sometimes things change. Other flavors start to open up over the course of the night.
Right, and neither one of these fall in the category of the first pour you weren't there with it.
Right.
Come back in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Come back in a couple months.
Yeah. Right.
It's probably going to change, and it's probably going to open up.
We should do that in a future video, because I got some things that I thought were turds.
Just terrible. Yeah.
That I haven't had in a while. That maybe they're good now. I don't know.
Right. So I do it all the time. I'll buy a bottle and I'll think, oh my gosh, this is a waste.
But I can't pour it down the drain.
I can't pour it down the drain, so I'm just going to.
Somebody will have it somewhere, some way or another.
And then I'll come back to it. So I have a bottle. It's almost gone now because the last couple weeks I've been into it. Maker's Mark 46.
Yeah, I haven't.
When I first had that, I thought, I don't understand the hype on this.
A lot of people love that, but I think it's the weeder.
Yeah. And so I've let it sit, and then I went back and I thought, this is really a pretty solid pour.
Yeah.
And so give it time. You may not be a rye person today, but you may 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And so, but these are definitely two ryes that won't overpower you, that are pretty smooth.
Yeah.
But
they're both very, very different from
couldn't be. That's exactly right. They couldn't be more different than how they come across the palate. At least ours. So you may take a sip and they may taste exactly the same to you, which I'd be surprised, but they could.
I mean, sort of what we said already. I think if you're in the Buffalo Trace realm of whiskey, this is a good rye to delve into.
Yeah.
Maybe if you've shifted and maybe you're not, Buffalo Trace maybe isn't your go-to. Maybe you've gotten into some higher proof things. Yeah. This would be a good rye. I mean, it's a little bit higher proof, but it's not going to knock you off off your feet. Well, unless you're drinking it all night, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you may see somewhere on my hat, I voted early, and I want to encourage you all out there. It is important to vote. Regardless of who you vote for. I say just more than just going in there blind and voting for whomever. I do encourage you all to do a little bit of research and go beyond just the typical traditional news media. Maybe dive into some podcasts and other content, but inform yourself. But do go out there and vote, because I think it's really important for our country.
Yeah, I agree.
We want freedom. We want whiskey. We want perfect because it makes
every
it better.
Day.
But really important to I think it's our civic duty as United States citizens to actually cast our vote. So I want to encourage you all to do that. Also want to remind you all again to like, share, and subscribe to the Mojo Whiskey Bar on YouTube. Join our Facebook page. Follow the Instagram page. We're going to keep bringing more content out there, and hopefully we're going to bring you some whiskeys that maybe you haven't heard of or tried. And I think that's really cool too, because there's so much great stuff out there right now. So any other parting thoughts before we go?
Well, just to tag onto that, we got a lot of things planned for you.
We do.
We may do some field trips. We may end up at a distillery or two and kind of walk you through with us. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay connected to us on all the different platforms John mentioned, and we will see you out there on the trail.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.